G'day mates, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be full of even more insane team swaps and new teams ahead of the competitive season starting in a few weeks, involving none other than the World Cup champion Bugha, who's found himself on a new team that you may or may not expect, but they are already looking ridiculous in the pro scrims today. I want to talk about where they're dropping, how they're performing. Also have news from Mongraal. It looks like Mongraal has finally found himself a team, and boy is it a team. Their first day together, they managed to win the EU pro scrim, so I want to talk a little bit about them. Also, we have it from an inside source that the railgun and the sniper rifle that are currently in arena and competitive were never meant to be in there. It's hard to find them. You can only get them from vending machines or buying them from NPCs, but it looks like that was unintentional and Epic will be vaulting them from competitive entirely. I want to talk about what that means a little bit later. And lastly, I want to finish off with some rumors that I have a lot of people coming to me and asking about. Are they bringing back or are they allowing account selling and account sharing, so you can share the cosmetics and trade them from different accounts similar to games like Rocket League, or you're going to be able to sell accounts legally? I want to talk about why these rumors are spreading and whether I actually think there's any chance they come true. Let's start off at NA East. What is Bugha's new team? So Bugha is now playing with Day and Jamper, which, you know, we've seen Bugha almost play with Day in the past. Last season when that absolutely massive snake inning started, when all the teams were swapping, it started because Bugha was going to fill reverse 2K's spot and he was going to IGL and he was going to lead Day and Miro. Now, obviously that ended up not happening. Last season, Bugha stayed with Avery and Nosh, but this season looks like Bugha's finally going to get his chance to play with Day. They played pro scrims today. They're actually dropping dirty docs. Weren't really sure during it whether Bugha was just filling, whether he was playing with them seriously, but halfway through the scrims, they obviously felt that it was working. They were enjoying it enough. Day was streaming them, so I got to watch, and Jamper ended up tweeting out they are an official team. Now, what are my thoughts on this team? They look incredible. Bugha was actually in my Twitch chat the other day talking about what it's like to IGL. If you guys don't know, IGL means in-game leader, what it means to lead Day, and he said the same thing. A lot of people always imagine that if you're going to play with Day and if you're going to lead him, you got to put him on a leash, is the term I always hear, because he just jumps in boxes, he goes crazy, he's super aggressive. But I like the way Bugha described it. Bugha's like, you can't do that. Like, that's what makes Day Day, is he jumps in, he frags out, he goes crazy. Sometimes he dies in stupid ways, but more often than not, it's worth letting him be that aggressive. Bugha's like, I do the opposite. I adapt me and my team's playstyle to fit him more. If he sees a kill and he's going aggressive for it, instead of trying to reel him back in, we're gonna jump in with him and play more aggressive. And honestly, that's what I saw happen in scrims today. There was a couple of times where Day made some silly decisions and he went down early, but for the most part, Day would find frags, he'd find the elims, Bugha and Jamp would back him up, they'd wipe the whole team, they'd get a refresh, and they'd keep going. Like, they are looking really, really strong, and the vibes seem really high in this team. It was enjoyable to watch. Bugha didn't say anything about Day streaming scrims, which is also a good thing for you and me who, you know, love watching competitive Fortnite content. It doesn't look like Bugha's going to stop Day from streaming, which maybe we'll see that Bugha will actually start streaming scrims himself, which I would love to see. Potentially tournaments too. If they start streaming cups, that would be amazing. But the next question you're going to ask is, what's going on with Jamper? Because obviously Jamper has played with Bugha so many times, he's been dropped by him so many times, and he has said that he will no longer play with him or trust him so many times. But I think truly Jamper is clearly very good friends with Bugha. Bugha is a phenomenal player. Anyone really given the chance to play with him is going to play with him, especially paired with Day. So I think Jamper's happy to run the risk that hopefully this time Bugha stays with the team. He's going to stick it out through the season. There's a few more weeks, and honestly, it looks like they are. So I'm really excited to see how they go. What's kind of like the effect of this? Obviously that leaves Nosh and Avery without a team, and Tragics was the one who was playing with Day and Jamper, so Tragics now looking for a team. So it's interesting because Creo and Illa say they're looking for one more player. Tragics was playing with them, and I think they're still looking for one. I don't think Tragics is going to go back to them. I'm not really sure what's going on there. I haven't really understood where Avery's fallen in all of this. Haven't really seen Avery playing with anyone. Haven't heard too much about where he's gone. It looks like Nosh is now potentially actually playing with Iomzo and Chucky. So before we had Nut, Chucky, and Iomzo. We had Nut, Chucky, and Iomzo. Last season, we had a whole bunch of beef between them at the very end. Iomzo no longer played with them. I thought the beef was between Iomzo and then Nut and Chucky. It turns out apparently a lot of that beef was actually just between Iomzo and Nut. So now that Chucky is no longer playing with Nut, he's happy to play with Iomzo. So we now have Chucky, Iomzo, and Nosh, which is a terrifying, terrifying fighting team. Like, I say that about a lot of teams, but that team's mechanics is absolutely disgusting. Like, if you run into them, it's going to be a scary fight. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, we did just have Chucky playing with Skittles. They were dropping a Believer's Beach on clicks in the test tournament. They got 4-0'd. Clearly, that wasn't a good showing. They weren't happy with it. They weren't feeling it as a team, and they've already split up, which now also means that Clicks is getting uncontested Believer's Beach, which is huge if you're a Clicks fan. Now, moving over to EU, we have Mongraal's new team. He is playing with none other than Fastroki and Amplified. Now, when this team first formed, I was like, that's a good team. Like, that is a really good team on paper. I wonder how well they're going to work together. I wonder how the team dynamic is going to go. We didn't have to wait long to find out, though, because not only did they play in scrims, not only did they win scrims, they streamed them as well. They played 5 games. They didn't get a win, but they did win the whole bracket overall. They got the most amount of points in the 5 games, and they did it out of Coral Castle and Shark, which is, in my opinion, one of the worst drops on the map, and I'm still going to argue is one of the worst drops on the map. If they have some crazy way of making this work, I mean, I'm all for it, because there is almost no chance they get contested at those drops consistently. They are way too scary of a team to be going such a bad POI and people still want to drop there. There is so much loot on the map right now. If you were looking for targets to drop on, if you wanted to contest someone, if you're going to contest a team as good as Mongraal, Amplify, and Fastroki, you'd go for a better drop. You wouldn't do it over Coral Castle and Shark, especially because fights out here, if they draw out, means you rotate even later, and it's even worse for your gameplay. So I was so surprised. I went back and watched the VOD, and it looks like they have a really, really good team dynamic. At this point, if I try to, like, pin down who's the IGL, who's the leader, who's the tarper, all that stuff, I don't really have the answers for that one just yet. I'm sure if you guys watched all of Mongraal's stream, or if you've been around, I'm sure he's talked about it. Again, let me know in the comments down below if they have kind of talked about what their dynamic is. But honestly, having 3 phenomenally good players who are all on a really good page with communication, they're all doing a fantastic job. Like, they were all commenting things, they were all taking over each other's roles. Obviously, Mongraal is not going to be the main tarper endgame. It looks like he was making a lot of rotational calls, a lot of storm surge calls, and overall, they just look like a super strong team. And even better yet, they're a team that's more than happy for Mongraal to stream from what I can see, and they're streaming scrims. So happy days when it's your favorite pro and content creator, they find a team they work with, and they're still going to keep streaming. Same as Clicks with his new team. It's looking like a really, really good season for competitive. Last season, I said this, there was a few issues that made FNCS just not really feel that exciting, and one of them was just a lot of the big names and people that I feel like the community cheers for and gets behind just weren't doing that well, and they also just weren't making a lot of content. Where the start of this season, that is completely different. All our favorite people seem to have found really, really solid teams for the most part, and all of them are making content on their games. Like, I'm getting very hyped for this season. Let's move on to talking about the sniper rifles and the railguns. A lot of you guys might still think they're not in competitive. They actually are. Even though they don't spawn in floor loot, you can still get your hands on them. The sniper rifles you have to get from vending machines around the map. If they randomly spawn as 200 gold and you can buy them, that's probably why you've seen bolt actions in some of your arena games, or you might see them as scrims. A lot of drop spots do have the capability of getting 200 gold quite easily, especially if you find a vault. The railguns are a bit different. You have to buy them from NPCs. There is one at the weather station, then there's one at Pleasant Park that sells them, or they have a very small drop rate from the IO chest. When it comes to in competitive games, a much lower chance than what I can see from pubs, or maybe the chance is the same and you just don't get them from pubs very often. I found more of them in pubs, but at the same time, that could have just been luck. So now, they were in the game, and a lot of people quite like this. I myself kind of like this, the fact that they're not in the game as loot that you can find everywhere, but some people still do have their hands on them, because it kind of gives you the best of both worlds. I've talked about this. There is a benefit and a negative to having no snipers in the game. Benefit obviously being one sniper headshot doesn't just change the whole game, especially in solos. If you just get a stray headshot, that's it, game's over. Trios handles that better, because if you get headshot sniped, one of your teammates can usually hold builds, the other one can start sticking the res, and sometimes you survive and it's not so bad. It's also really good for Surge, and it allows players who are good with the sniper to farm up a lot of Surge. My biggest issue with snipers has always been not having them in the game, because I like them, they reward a lot of skill. It's the fact that if you get 60 heavy bullets off spawn, you can just go crazy shooting at everything that moves and hope you hit. They just have no real risk for using them, and they have a huge reward. I've always said that potentially they should start with 5 or 10 bullets, and that's it. Once you go through them, they're gone. So you can still have them, you can still use them well if you're insane like someone like Thomas HD, but you can't just shoot 50 times and hit one of them and now the game's completely changed. But on the other side, there is a negative to not having them in the game, which I've also talked about. When it comes to Surge tags especially, you can just stand up and just spray at anyone you want now, because there is no chance that you get one-shotted. Like, yeah, people can spray you might get 3-2-1, you might get hit hard, but when snipers are in the game and heavy hitting items like that, there's a lot more fear that you could get one-shotted. So when you're peeking quickly, you're peeking away, you're going for smart peeks, you're not just sitting there spraying. Like, when there's players in your arena game or your pubs games, when snipers are in the meta, very rarely can someone just sit there and spray at you for like a minute straight and you're just holding builds. Eventually they will draw attention and get headshot snipes. So I like having snipers in the game for that reason as well, and I think having them in it as their current form was kind of working for that, because right now the chug cannon is just absolutely broken, more so than before. If you watch any tournament scrims or any surge heavy games, if you have the chug cannon now, everyone has the same strategy: stand up, just spray at anyone, take 150 damage back, who cares? You got 100 damage off, sweet, stand down, douche, 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 and you're back up in health. There is no risk because that player knows they're not going to get headshot sniped. So I kind of like the fact that because they were a lot more rare, they were only for sale from the NPCs and the vending machines, there was still a little bit of fear that someone might have them, and sometimes people did, but not everyone was running around getting headshot snipes all the time. So I don't know how I feel about this, and also, how do I know this is happening? It's a bit of a weird one. I always try to give you guys very, very legitimate sources. This is a legitimate source, but it might sound weirder. I'm in the Elite Scrims Discord because I watch a lot of the Elite Scrims on my Twitch channel. It's how I keep up to date with all the pros. If you guys don't know, Elite is the Discord that has all the best pros in NA East. It's ran by Zate. The games are stacked. There's no zone rules, and it's how a lot of the practice gets done. In this Discord, we have Felix, who is one of the main people who runs the Discord. He's one of the main admins. He said today in the announcements, don't use mythics/railguns, any bolts. They are confirmed to not be intentionally in the game. Now, I reached out to Felix. Unfortunately, he's already asleep now. I'm sure I know how he knows this, because Felix, with the role that he is with managing Scrim Discords, he does have a more open relationship with Epic. He's able to talk to them because when they used to run evaluation and test tournaments, they would quite often use the Elite Scrim Discord to test the servers and try to stress test them because they're really stacked games. So I'm sorry he has that more open line of communication. I thought it might be in the closed competitive Discord, but I've gone through there. I've seen nothing from Epic about it, but I trust Felix on this one, and it makes sense. It does look like they shouldn't be in the game. Like, they're only in the vending machines and the NPCs, but we've seen this glitch in the past where the NPCs sold things that aren't meant to be in competitive, and Epic takes them out. So I do fully believe they are going to be taken out, and I wanted to take the chance to talk about what I think snipers do in competitive, because if they take them out, I will ultimately be fine with it, and if they leave them in, I'll still probably be fine with it. I can see both sides of why people might love or hate the snipers. Last thing I wanted to talk about was this massive influx of questions I'm getting about account selling, account sharing, and trading cosmetics. I'm trying to find why people are asking me. People keep telling me there's leaks going around that you're going to be allowed to do this in the near future. I haven't been able to find them. I even made a tweet to be like, why are people talking about this? Because I'm getting asked a lot on my stream at the moment. I've seen a few of you guys in the YouTube comments asking. Yes, I do read them. It's quite often why I answer certain questions a lot, because I see you guys asking them a lot. And I want to give my stance on it and talk about it, because there is no way Epic is ever going to allow account selling, sharing, or any form of skin trading, in my opinion. I just can't see it happening. Yes, Epic Games now owns Rocket League that has skin sharing and cosmetic trading, and I think a system like that is probably the best way you could possibly do it, where you just trade them and stuff like that, but that would still allow selling. You would still go on a website, you say, I really want Renegade Raider, I'm going to pay $200 for it, then you log in, you send them $200, they trade you, everyone's happy, but it's going to lead to a lot of scamming. It just is. Like, say in that same transaction where someone pays money, yeah, pay me $200, I'll give you the Renegade Raider. $200 goes through, the kid doesn't get Renegade Raider, he's super upset now, he's just been scammed out of $200. It's gonna make Epic look bad, but there's nothing Epic can really do to rectify that situation. It is very, very hard to control account selling, sharing, and skin selling, and Epic has clearly made a really, really strong stance on the fact that they do not like this. I mean, most notably recently, you've probably seen it, Hypex himself got banned. He got his Fortnite account banned because of cosmetics or buying an account. I think it was years ago. I think he bought his account literally years ago. Sorry guys, just a quick little edit in here. I've gone back and looked at the tweets. Hypex wasn't even banned for buying the account years ago. He was banned for being given the account years ago from a friend. Epic clearly do not like account sharing at all. and it has randomly been banned now. And Hypex himself was obviously really upset and kicked up a big stink because he's always helped Epic whenever they've reached out and asked about, like, you know, if he puts up a clip and there's like a bug in the game or if there's something like that, he's always quick to help them and give them the information they want. But in this situation, he's tried to reach out to every connection he has and they haven't got back to him about what, like, whether he'll get his account back, why it was banned. Obviously, we also have Vino. If you guys remember, a couple FNCSs ago, Vino got banned right before the grand finals because he bought his account 2 years earlier, and that's why he couldn't play FNCS Grands. They wouldn't even let him play the grand finals on a different account that he didn't buy because technically it didn't qualify. They very clearly have a big stance on account selling and buying. The other one I always talk about as well that people seem to forget about is Zabi. Ghost Zabi, one of the biggest content creators and pros out of OC, especially in Chapter 1 in the early days. He was advertising a website where you could buy and sell accounts on his YouTube. Because that was against Epic's terms of service, he actually not only got banned off Epic Games, they had his entire YouTube channel deleted. Because they deemed that he was breaking terms of service on making content on their game, on the YouTube platform that they didn't allow, they struck his videos, I think like 3 or 5 times instantly. Because he then got 3 instant copyright strikes, he had a week before his channel was completely deleted, with 600,000 subs and some videos I think getting upwards of 1 million views. They clearly very much do not want any form of selling or buying accounts on their game. I just don't think it's going to happen. Even if they bring in a sanctioned kind of in-game trading system like Rocket League has, I think it would still lead to all these troubles. It would be a little bit easier for them to manage, but I just think they identify that their player base is too young. This kind of thing would not last. Even though Counter-Strike obviously has skin selling and all that kind of stuff, some games have systems that make this work. Different companies have a different stance on, well, you chose to buy it, you got scammed, it's your fault, deal with it. But Epic always tries to be very media friendly and tries to be very mainstream friendly with these things. I don't think they want the negative publicity or the press of selling and buying accounts. And honestly, I agree with them. With the amount of kids that I see on Fortnite, I would not trust them with the ability to buy and sell any cosmetic that's just not through the item shop. So that's kind of my stance on it. I don't know where these leaks are coming from, but I wanted to address it because I'm getting asked a lot. And I do think it's an interesting topic though. Alright guys, that does it for another video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please chuck a like on it. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on anything I talked about today. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.